Hello, this is Dean Radin, and I'm on Your Superior Self.
Hi, I'm Anita Murjani, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hello, this is Dr. Raymond Moody, and this is Your Superior Self.
Hi, Cultural Creatives. I'm Bruce Lipton, and I'm here to join you with Your Superior Self.
Hi, this is Paul Selig, and this is Your Superior Self.
What's up, everybody? I'm Aubrey Marcus, and this is Your Superior Self.
Well, hey there. This is Belinda Farrell, and this is Your Superior Self.
Perfection. How are you, Belinda? Thank you for taking the time to join the show.
Well, it is my pleasure and an honor. I don't know what I'm getting into, but it should be fun.
You're in for a surprise. I just want to know more about you, right? Like, I saw your website. It's very interesting, very, very different, right?
That's true.
What's your story? How did you get into what you're doing today?
Well, it's funny. Tomorrow is my 55th Cal Berkeley reunion.
Oh.
And I remember telling the chancellor when I got my diploma from Berkeley, I said, I'm going to be an actress and I'm going to start out playing Snow White at Disneyland. And he was like, expecting aeronautical and space engineer from Berkeley or whatever. But I was really bent on becoming an actress, and the Pasadena Playhouse had closed. So I had no other choice. I just got hired as Snow White and off I went.
I can see that. I can see Snow White.
It was fun. The dwarfs were a little bit edgy, but other than that.
So how long did you do that?
Oh, just for a season. My senior year. And then I went to ABC, KABC, and because after I had gone on strike, I was hired as a news reporter. And I had no experience whatsoever, but I just went on field and brought in stories.
How long did you do that for?
Fun. Did that for almost a year. Baxter Ward and Rona Barrett. This was a long time ago.
And then what happened? And where did you go? Where did the journey take you?
And then during that time, I was being recruited by the CIA.
Jeez.
And they were doing
actress, CIA, reporter.
Yeah. And so my security clearance had finally come through, and they sent me to Washington, to Langley. I was there for a week for interrogation and to see if I could muster the program and go to Spain and become a covert agent in the Spanish department, because I majored in Spanish and English at Berkeley. But it wasn't, that's another book.
Are we allowed to talk about this? Like, I'm not having, are people, oh my goodness, I'm getting tapped. We're going to have to change your name for protection.
My name has been changed several times. But it was good.
How long did you do that for?
Well, I didn't go with the CIA, or I probably wouldn't be here talking to you today.
Well,
I said, it's not a good fit.
What'd you pivot to?
I went to the Senate and I thought, I'll see if I can find a job here. And I literally ran into this one senator, Edward Brooks, and he said, go see my friend Charles Percy from Illinois. He's forming his staff. So I went there. He was the former president of Bell and Howell. And we hit it off, and I got a chance to interview with him directly, but I didn't get hired right away. They were seeing lots of other people. I went to the State Department and started a job there. And then the senator's office called me and said that I had the job. And so I started working for them. And then my soon-to-be husband walked in the door. He wouldn't leave. And it was a very interesting year, because it was the year 1968 was when Martin Luther King was shot and Bobby Kennedy was also killed. And the Kennedys were in the office that we were in, and they went upstairs. He became junior senator, and we would often have lunch together. And I just loved Bobby Kennedy. Anyway, it was a shock. And I didn't want to stay in Washington any longer because Nixon was coming in.
So how did you get into healing?
That's a really good question, because it didn't really occur to me until I turned 40. I was married to the doctor for 18 years, and I always was trying to find ways to heal myself without medicines. I didn't really know anything about it, but I knew that the body itself was intelligent and that it could heal itself. You just gave it the right direction. But when I got divorced at 40, I really started delving into self-healing. And the first thing that came up was a newspaper article with Tony Robbins giving firewalks. I didn't know what that was. And I thought, well, that sounds interesting. You get rid of your fears at the same time. So I went on a firewalk, and it was a massive introduction to just creativity, and I wanted more of what he was offering. I ended up staying with him for 5 years. I had 18 firewalks under my belt. And from that is where I got the idea that I was going to drive a race car. Because what the fire does is it just opens you up completely to say, well, if I can do this, what else can I do that I've never done?
Mm-hmm.
And Tony teaches you that if you say you can't, then you must. And if you must, then you will. And so I thought, I can't drive a race car, but I really want to drive a race car, but so I will. And I called a racetrack and found out where I could go and learn how to just do some spins and slides and just fast driving, putting the car where you needed to. Turned out I had some talent, and they hired me to drive for Buick and Cadillac following year. And then created a stunt course when I came back, and my career started as a stunt driver, and I did that for almost 10 years.
Wow. So
all
you
from
work.
the firewalk.
So you work. Did you actually like work with Tony Robbins, like one-on-ones? I know he's. I don't know. Like, I know he's pretty in demand, right? Like, I know that he has a huge following and a ton of people that work for him.
Right.
So, like, did you work one-on-one with him on a staff, or what did that look like?
Well, he was only 29 years old at the time.
Oh, okay.
When I first met him. So we're talking a baby at the time. I was a baby. He was a baby. He was just kind of getting started, but he was dynamic. He was nuclear fission. And I was a stage manager. I did a lot of things backstage, front stage. I was part of his staff, but not a paid staff. I volunteered. I would have volunteered because I just wanted to soak it all in. I wanted to learn as much as I could. Tony would stay up in our seminars till 3 and 4 in the morning just to make sure people got what they came to get. It was a massive lesson, but I could only go so far. And Tony didn't like to go really, really deep. He didn't like people crying and losing control. And sometimes when you cry and lose control, it's a good thing. You know, you really get to the bottom of whatever it is that you've been hiding. So I decided that it was time to leave. And then I got into hypnosis and then went to Hawaii for my master track training. And that's where I was introduced to the Dolphins, because I never even told Tony that I was afraid of water. Here I was driving race cars and going at insurmountable speeds, but I was afraid of water. And so when I got to Hawaii, I had to deal with the water that was all around me. And the Dolphins came in my dreams, and they started teaching me how to swim, so that when I woke up, I had this urge to get out into the water to be with the Dolphins, but I had to overcome the fear. And I finally did. I did 20 years of taking people out to swim with these amazing wild spinner dolphins.
Wow. What's your favorite thing about Hawaii? Can't say dolphins.
Why not? Oh, the smells, the absolute harmony of all the elements that seem to just envelop you. It's like a perfume.
Are you still there?
I'm still there. Where am I still in Hawaii?
Yeah. Are you still there?
As soon as I talk, because it's been 2 years since I've been there. And then I just read where the NOAA is banning people from swimming with dolphins only 50 feet. You can only go within 50 feet of them.
Oh, really? I hear a lot
Okay.
about the turtles, right? Like I always hear about the turtles. I very rarely hear about the dolphins.
Well, the turtles are magnificent as well. And the turtles saved my life once. When I was starting to learn how to swim, I went out a little bit too far and I got caught in a riptide. And I started just struggling and I was losing energy and I just called out for help. And this giant turtle comes alongside of me and I just look in his eyes and I just could hear him saying, "Do what I do." And what the turtle was doing was just gently moving his fins and not struggling. So that's what I did. I stopped struggling. I became like one with the turtle. And he guided me over safely to the rocks and then disappeared. He was like my angel.
Hmm.
So the lesson I learned from that was that you can't fight. If you fight, you're going to lose. You're going to just get out of wind. You just have to go with the flow wherever you're headed. Just go with the flow and it will leave you safely.
I think, yeah, that's my biggest problem is fighting, right? Like is trying to go upstream.
Why do you do that?
Because I feel like the ego says I'm in control. Like I need to work harder, or I need to be something different, or that it just this plan, this life, this whatever won't work kind of thing, right? Like it's like you're talking about, it's not until you surrender do you start flowing with life rather than going against it and living in restriction and resistance. I think that's a great metaphor for me anyway. And where I was at was, or still am really, is allowing to trust myself, like unconditionally trust like my higher self and me. And know that, you know, it's so hard because like things happen in your life and and I'm sure you can attest to this. Like when we're in the moment, like we feel like our world is just like going against us. Like things just happen and like we get stressed out and angry and we're in the moment. We don't understand like really what's going on. Like we don't understand why this is happening, or, I mean, it could be very, very bad. I don't know what else to say. Like detrimental to us. And we're in the moment. We're like, oh, this is the worst thing in the world. And then like a couple of years go by and you come out of that and you're like, man, that really shaped me. Like that really,
that's right. Best thing that ever happened to me.
It's crazy. It's crazy how that works.
You know, the ego is trying to kill you.
I believe it.
Because it's all about the body.
Mm.
It doesn't want you to go inside and find the answers, like with your breath.
Have you gone inside and found some answers?
Oh, yes. That's what my book is about too, because I had to heal my back. I was told I was going to be paralyzed and never be able to walk again unless I had surgery. And I had no insurance. I couldn't do any stunt driving. I couldn't do any modeling because I couldn't walk, couldn't sit. I was a mess. And I thought, okay, I've been learning the Huna for 3 years on the island. And it was all about cleansing and going inside and cleaning up the dark stuff. And I thought, okay, physician, heal thyself. I have to see if this really works. And so I started doing the breathing. It all has to do with breathing and bringing up the dark events that you've been trying to squash down, that have tried to define you, and they don't define you. And I started doing this breathing up to the top of my head and then and doing that for about 10, 15 minutes. And then the unconscious mind, which is running your body, it says, gee, I wonder if Trey can handle this today. And it'll open something up, something will come out, and then you have to decide whether you want to put some closure on it or stuff it back down. But you wouldn't stuff a pimple back into your face. So that's really what this is doing. It's uncovering the pimples and the pus, getting it out of you. And the ego hates that because you're going in and you're doing the work. And I healed completely. I brought up a memory that, and it's in my book on page 109, I already know where it is, of a little fetus that was thrown out into the universe like a piece of garbage. And what it turned out to be was a revelation that my mother and my father had taken me to 3 abortion clinics to get rid of me. And that registered in the fetus. It registered as I was growing up. I never quite felt accepted by my mother. She was very strict. I know they loved me, but it was still something strained. And I think I'd never met my father. And I thought, well, if I become an actress, then he'll look me up and he'll want to come and be with me. I mean, that's what the child says to herself. That was one of the reasons I wanted so much to entertain people. But as it turned out, it made me feel that I was okay, that I didn't have to earn somebody's love to be loved, that I didn't have to work hard for it, that I just could be who I am. And so I started to relax more, and the ego let go of me quite a bit by doing that.
So that was during your healing with your back.
The back, yeah.
And how did you hurt your back?
You know, I think I was I say an alcoholic, but I wasn't. I never drink. I was an addict to adrenaline. So I would just exercise myself completely and not rest. I would rollerblade, I would bicycle, I was doing my stunt driving. I just didn't know how to rest, didn't know how to take time out and listen to the body. And then I was also saying something to myself. You have to hear what you're saying to yourself. And I was saying that I couldn't be supported. Somehow I needed somebody else to support me. I couldn't support myself. So when you're saying something like that, your spine is listening, and that's your support system. But if you're telling it that it can't support you, it does exactly what you say. It's a faithful computer. So I was collapsing my own spine with my own thoughts. And then I had to change my thoughts. Again, thank you, Tony Robbins, transformational vocabulary. And I had to start saying, thank you for remembering to support me. Thank you for regenerating. Regenerating, that's a key word. Thank you for knowing how to regenerate. Anyway, I healed within about 3 days of doing that 24/7. My spine completely healed. The scoliosis that I was born with completely disappeared. When I went back to the doctors, they couldn't believe the x-rays.
How long did it take you?
Well, I was in bed a month, and then I was doing the healing probably for about a week. And then at the end of that month, I got out of bed and walked, and like nothing had happened to me.
So the healing was breathing, breath work, right? And dealing with a lot of past trauma. What about What about visualization, right? Like, did you do any of that?
You can visualize, but remember your unconscious mind is emotional. It's where all your emotions are stored. So if you just have a visualization, it's not enough. You have to feel that what you're doing is working. So I had to see myself climbing trees. And when I'd see myself climbing trees, I would giggle because you have to have a very good spine to climb that tree, right? It's got to be flexible. So I saw the outcome, and I just kept focusing on that. And the little unconscious mind is about 2 years old. Once the pipeline is clear to your higher self, which sits up at the top of your head and doesn't have a body, once I got closure on all that dark stuff, taking me to abortion clinics and all of that dark stuff, then the pipeline was free, and I could send up the desire to climb a tree up to my higher self. Your higher self drops it down into your physical body. It can heal anything.
Did your parents tell you about that? Like that
No.
experience? How did you find out that they had gone to 3 abortion clinics?
Well, I had never met my father. My mother wouldn't even allow his name to be mentioned in the house. And she didn't want to talk about it. But I had done so much of this cord cutting, which is another self-healing process that I learned in Hawaii. And she finally gave in and started talking about how she had taken me to these abortion clinics. I was her first sexual experience. So she had met this man, she'd fallen in love with him, and she didn't know that she'd get pregnant the first time. So, she was a good Catholic girl during that time. It was very hard. She was embarrassed and ashamed. But then she finally told me when I confronted her. It was just so loud and clear when I saw this baby just being tossed out into this abyss. It was frightening. But the baby was held up by these hands and safely put into the arms of this divine creature that was sitting on top of a precipice, looking down at all the chaos. And when I woke up from this, I called my mother and I said, talk to me about my birth. What is it that you did? And then she admitted it. That was the first time she had admitted it.
Wow. I wonder like if that was healing for her.
I think
too.
so. Finally, I think
Like being able to
definitely.
talk about it, right? I mean, that's past trauma for her, right? Like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, to go through that experience, one, being with someone that you love, getting pregnant, and then taking it, going with, I'm assuming, did they go together to 3, or was it just her?
Yes. No, they
To
went
go 3
together.
places, why didn't, I mean, so, and this is just, why 3 places? Like, why?
Because
Why
they
did-
wouldn't do it the first time. They wouldn't do it the second time. So they kept trying. They went to 3 different places
Wow.
and they got turned down all 3 times. I was meant to be here, darn it all.
Well, I'm just saying, like 3 times. That's wow.
know.
That's a sign. I mean, you're supposed to be here.
But it's always about you. You can't change the past. The past happened. You have to look at how you are interpreting the past and change that. And that's how you forgive yourself. You stop telling the horror story and start looking at it in a good way. Just like you said, 2 years from now, whatever I did back then that looked bad is now maybe one of the best things that could have happened to me.
How does one, like, I don't know. I don't even know how to, like, how does one find, like, if someone's unconscious to that, right? Like, if I go in and I start breathing, like, how do I know, or if I'm doing it right, one, and like, I guess you feel it. I guess you start feeling things come up, but like, how do you know if it's like real or like you're making it up?
Well, everything comes from your unconscious. So you have past lives that have been stored there. Your body doesn't lie. It will start to just maybe shake. You might start to cry. You can't be afraid of the emotions that'll come up. Whatever they are, they're going to reveal something to you, something that's been buried. And most people don't want to do that. They'd rather, the ego feeds on drugs, alcohol, sugar, shopping, all those things. The ego says, go over there and find it. Don't go inside, because it knows it would just be devastated if it got waylaid.
It's like distraction, right? So do we, like, the body, like my body has trauma from past lives?
Okay.
I'm just asking, like, I don't know. Like, I mean, is that something that you've experienced? Like, a lot of people, your clients or people that you've helped? Because I'm trying to understand, like, and I'm a big pro past life regressionist. Like, I am very much into this modality for healing. But someone who's done it, right, who's been around it, who's practiced it, who's experienced it, like, why do we carry like past life traumas in this body?
Well, we're trying to heal them and get to a higher consciousness, because all of this trauma that we bury within us keeps us stuck on a denser plane,
Hmm.
because all there is love. And that's what they say, right?
That's what they
But-
say. What does Belinda say? I want to know what she says.
I think it's all love. And I think you do have to get rid of the thoughts that you have. I cut cords every day. Cutting cords for me is just a freedom.
Like, what do you mean? Like, explain that.
Okay,
Like
a
cutting
cord.
cords.
The Hawaiians call the cords that we emotionally attach to, like, here's my cell phone. Okay, I'm attached to this just like everybody's attached to this. Does it own me? I hope not. Because every night I try to cut the cord that's attached from my cell phone to me. But you're attached to so many other things. You're attached to your car and just everything. And it weighs you down. And so the things of the past, if they're not cut, if they're not dissolved, they will continue to weigh you down and you'll lose energy. So the Hawaiians felt that every night at sunset, they would cut their cords. They call them aka cords. The Bible calls them the webs we weave around ourselves. And so by doing that, by forgiving yourself, and there's a saying that you would say, just, I'm sorry. As you go through the day, you would just say to yourself, I'm sorry, I love you, I forgive you, thank you. And then I have a CD called Chant and Forgiveness. And it takes you through this process of forgiveness. And you would take a cutting instrument and spin it around you and then watch the people float away that you have down below. Because everything inside your mind is like a film. It's a film of everything that's happened to you in your lifetime, including your DNA from your relatives and your ancestors. You carry that all here with you. And if you haven't let it go, it starts to own you. So by just saying, I'm sorry, I love you, I forgive you, thank you, you let that part of you go daily and you start to feel better. You start to feel lighter. And that's a fun thing to do. I think life is full of fun and joy and lightness. Look at little kids from 0 to 7. All they want to do is play. They haven't become bogged down yet.
I want to play. Like, I want to go do things. Like, I think being more childlike is how we're supposed to be. I think it's this illusion that we create in society about, being materialistic, and, how the West is so much different than the East as far as its philosophy, right? Like, we want to be so empirical. We want to be so objective. We want to be, we want to.
So how do you have fun?
Talking to you, talking to people on the podcast. I have a skateboard that I got when I turned 38 that I recommitted myself to trying to get back in the groove with that, and with the kids, playing with my kids, and trying not to take myself too seriously.
That's good.
Yeah. I just think we get so caught up in the daily grind of things, and I think COVID slowed things a lot for me anyway. Slowed down, and I was able to reevaluate where I'm at and where I want to go and what my desires are. And like you're talking about attachments, like we're all attached to things. That's where suffering, right? Like the Buddha was talking about suffering and attachments. But then I'm like stumbling upon new concepts and new philosophies about, awareness, and that we are that, right? Like our true nature is awareness. And I never knew how to tap into that. I thought through my meditations, like I thought that I was tapping into that, but it was more like a visualization. Like I was going somewhere, but I didn't know what the awareness felt like. I didn't know what that was. I would sit down and I would clear my thoughts, but I would go and visualize and have experiences and stuff. Like I would have visualizations with Jesus, or I would have visualizations what I thought was Buddha, or what I envisioned him to be, and gained powerful insight. It's not something that I write off. Like it's something that is very important to me, and I have a journal of that, and I carry.
Did they talk to you?
Yeah, they were talking to me. Like that's where a lot of the great concepts, great aha moments, right? Like Jesus would say that, man, what would he say? I say it all the time. Like I would say, I love you. And he would say, well, if you love me, you love yourself. And basically teaching me that we are the same. Jesus and I are the same. Buddha and I are the same. And there's a great mystic. I just read her book and I'm totally forgetting where it is and what it's called, but she was a Catholic nun who got kicked out because of her sexuality. And then she wrote a book. She's awesome. She's, she'll be on the show, but she talked about where she went to India and she was struggling with the concepts of like Jesus and the Buddha. And this, I think it was her book, where this monk was like, they're the same thing. You're the same thing. Buddha was the thought. Jesus was the action. Like it is the same thing. We're all the same. And then I just kind of, woke, whatever you want to call it, to the idea that we are that one consciousness. But I didn't know what that was. Like, I'm like, man, if we're just this higher being, this higher self, the everything, the universe, the infinite potential of humanity, like, why do I feel like shit sometimes? Like, I just didn't, I just didn't know why, like, I couldn't connect with that. And I just started reading the lady who wrote The Secret. I can't remember her name, Rhonda Byrne, maybe. She wrote another book called The Greatest Secret. And so I started listening to that. And it talks about how you can connect to awareness. And so like you can, if like you just close your eyes and you clear your thoughts and now imagine yourself not having a body, and then imagine yourself not having thoughts, and like you're still that awareness, like you're aware that you're in a room or in a chair or wherever you're at in real life. That is your true nature. That is what Christ consciousness is that awareness, and going back to that and staying there and being in awareness, but not being the thoughts or the body, and not mistaking yourself for those things. And then when I can connect with that, when I can grab onto it, like I have pointers to it, right? Like she talks about in her book, she'll just ask yourself to close your eyes and ask yourself the question, am I aware? And then hold that. And then once you can hold that moment, and now you realize you're aware, you're connecting with source, you're connecting with higher consciousness, higher awareness. And then you're able to hold on to that a little bit longer each time you do that. And then you start feeling more joyous. Like I do. Like,
yes, of course.
There's been a couple of times where in meditation, I felt very blissful, right? Like maybe grace, maybe I was and felt grace, but I've been able to do that for maybe like 3 or 4 days now. Like I've been able to generate that for myself. And it kind of just, I kind of look around and I can see the illusion now. Like I can kind of see how I fall asleep to my thoughts, or I fall asleep to the ego, or I fall asleep to the emotions of my body that they generate. But everything leads to a thought, like everything does, right? Like you have a thought, then it's emotion, then it's a reaction or something like that, right? And then everything that we do, whether we get angry at someone, like I get angry at you, or I get angry at my kids or whatever, it's just built up emotion. Like we're like walking around as ticking time bombs. Like we're just ready. Something sets us off and we explode. And it's kind of like, when I go into awareness, I'm clearing that out of my body. I'm clearing that out of my mind and trying to just stay as awareness, because in that state, there's nothing that can bother you, really. I mean, you are awareness. You are the infinite. Like you are connected to the universe. It feels like nothing. It feels like that there is nothing. But then in the same sense, in the same moment, it's everything. It's everything that connects the human race. It's everything that connects us with the earth. It's everything that connects us with the stars, the space, the galaxy. It is that intelligence. And people are like, what are you talking about? Like, how do you know this? It's just like the divine intelligence that we have. Like you just know it when you hit it. Like you just know it.
Are you breathing when you're doing this? Are you doing
my breathing slows down. Like I barely notice my breathing. Like I kind of get to that spot where my breaths get very short. Like not because I'm purposely doing that. It just happens to do. It just so happens to be like that.
Because if you reversed it one of the times and started bringing up some of the stuff that's lodged deep within your unconscious, it might give you a different experience.
It might scare the crap out of me.
Yes, it will do that. But that's good. It's a good thing because it feels like your ego is dying.
You know what? I don't know if you felt like this, like when you were having like self-realization or something. Do you ever feel like you're having like this constant nostalgia, or like this, like you just feel like you're never going to be that person again? Like I can remember like just having this like, oh, I'm never going to be like, I don't know if it's because I've made that transition or making that transition, but like I like miss things now for some reason, like, or maybe it's not missing. I don't know what the right word is, but it's like, I'll never be, like I miss home, like home. And it's like, it's just, but then again,
do you look at a picture and say, where did that person go?
Yeah, like something like that. Like, like it's just kind of like, it's like I appreciate the moment that it was in. I appreciate everything about it, the experiences, the learning, the lessons, the pain, the suffering, the love, everything in that. But it's like, oh, it's over. It's gone. It's like
You've transitioned to another self.
But yeah,
who are you now?
I don't know. I was hoping you'd tell me.
It's better not to know. It's better not to have an idea.
How do I breathe though? Like you're talking about the breath, right? When I get into that state of awareness, how should I breathe?
You imagine you have a glass of water that's empty. And so every breath you take, you're filling that empty glass with your breath with water. So you take a deep breath through your nose. And you hold it for the count of 4, and then you exhale. And that's what invites your higher self to come down and to be a part of you, to be a part of your conscious and your unconscious mind.
How long do you do that for?
At least 10 minutes, longer if you can. On my CD Enchantment, I take people through 10 minutes of that Ha breathing and that connection with the higher self. It's powerful. Yeah. Because it's all within you is the bag of all of your groceries from the past. And so how do you want to remember it? Do you want to look at it as frightening dramas, or do you want to see it in a different light? Because it's how you interpret the past is how you're going to look at today or look at tomorrow, look at the future.
Did you, when you were experiencing this, right? Like, how do I say this? Like when you were evolving as a spirit, or you were evolving as yourself, or you're transitioning into that higher self, like this version of you, like, were you shedding like old relationships? Like you were saying, cutting cords.
Oh,
like,
yes. Oh,
like
definitely.
the people like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing this for? You're nuts. Like, or like, did you lose friends? Did you lose family? Did you just kind of like, and if you did, like, were you worried about like what that looked like for you, like in the future? Like, I know I've lost, not because of arguments, but like, I feel like I'm just different.
You are different, and you will attract different people into your life because your whole body is magnetic. So you attract whatever it is that you need healing from the inside. And I remember I wasn't attracting the same kind of people anymore. They were going away, goodbye, goodbye. And then just recently I got married. I'd been single for over 30 years from my first husband. I thought I'd never get married again. Then I meet this wonderful man of my dreams, and it's just effortless. And I find we you know how you just get along, you just gel together. You don't fight about anything. Well, sometimes we do. We have different opinions about certain things in the world, but still the love is so basically there that I just say to myself, I've done something right to deserve this. I mean, it just finally came, a relationship that I'm truly just honored to have.
How'd you guys meet?
Tennis.
Tennis.
I was looking for a tennis partner, and my best friend was married to this guy who roomed with Jim in college. And I said, well, why don't you put us together? He says, no, I don't think you guys will get along because he drinks, you don't drink. Da, 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 da. I said, I just want to play tennis. That's all I want to do, is I want to find a partner for tennis. So we met for tennis. We had a great time. He brought me a box of chocolates, and he kissed me for the first time.
On the first date.
Yeah, we've been together ever since. That was 7 years ago.
First tennis match, and he's throwing out the moves. How's his serve?
Both of our serves are a little compromised. I can't do the overhand anymore. I had stem cells done to my shoulder so I can at least play, but I can't do that overhand anymore. We play ping pong, and we play singles.
What about pickleball?
Oh yeah, pickleball too.
I love me some pickleball. Oh,
that's fun. That's fast.
I love pickleball.
Yeah.
Funny story. I actually got suspended in high school. We had a pickleball tournament. Ping pong tournament. Well, we did have pickleball too, but ping pong tournament, and I threw. I think it's like 2 losses, and then you're out of the tournament. So I paid $20 to get into the tournament, and then I lost on purpose so I can, get done early, and then I'd skip school, just left. And
my gosh.
And then my biology teacher, it was like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where my biology teacher actually came to my house, knocking on the door looking for me. Because we lived in town, right? So I mean, it was like where I'm from, it's like if you live in town, then you can walk to school. But biology teacher came, and I was explaining the story to my kids, because they were talking about the demerits in school. They were like, they're so scared to death to get demerits, because if they get demerits, then they get suspended. And I was like, they were like, you know what? We'll get suspended and they won't have to go to school. I said, no. I was like, I got suspended, and I had to go pour concrete for my punishment. And I was like, you guys are not going to sit home and play video games. You're going to go get a job for a day, whatever that looks like,
but that's neat.
And yeah, it's just things
you learned the lesson.
Yeah, I learned a lesson. I know one thing. I mad respect for those people out there pouring concrete. I tell you that much.
Walk in their shoes.
Oh man, crazy shoes.
You still play pickleball?
I do not. There's not a place around here for us to play, but I love it. We used to. I mean, the serves are just amazing. So people that don't know what pickleball is, it's where you have like these wooden paddles, and you have like a wiffle ball, and
right.
Or I guess a wiffle ball is it's
like a wiffle ball.
It's like a wiffle ball. It's a ball, plastic ball with a lot of holes in it, and you can put a nice spin on it, and you're playing it on like a smaller tennis court, and it's very, very fun.
My daughter plays, and she used to do roller derby.
Oh, really?
She was a roller derby girl. She and all her roller derby friends started playing pickleball, and they went down to Anaheim for a big tournament, and boy, did they get their eyes open. I mean, the people there were just Olympic kind of quality. They were the bottom of the bottom of the bottom.
You still play tennis with your husband?
Yeah, we play singles.
Nice. So you're not in Hawaii now? Where are you at now?
No, I'm in Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz,
is the surfing capital of the world.
How are those beaches compared to Hawaii?
Oh gosh, well, I can't go in the water because the water is just freezing. Hawaii, it's 79, 80 degrees.
The water?
Yes.
Really? I didn't know. I've never been.
It's like a bathtub. Where are you?
I'm in Baltimore right now. So I'm in Maryland. Yeah.
Wow.
It's our beaches. I'm a big beach guy. So we go to the beaches in Delaware. My favorite one is in a place called Fenwick Island.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, I've lifeguarded there. I was, my family used to go there.
But the water, how cold is the water?
It's very cold. The water's very cold, right? Like, I mean, it's cold year round. but
My grandson is a lifeguard. He's 15. He's a competitive swimmer, and he swims in the ocean. I don't know how he does
that's
it,
tough.
but yeah.
It's tough. That was like the hardest thing for me to do was this. I'm a very good swimmer. Like I grew up, swimming on swim teams. And when I went to go lifeguard, I'm like, I got this in the bag. Like, what are you talking about? Got this. I did not factor in the currents or the waves or the darkness of the water. So it was
the
like
darkness.
That's freaky. You talk about tapping into your subconscious or unconscious. You go ahead and swim a mile in the ocean and let me know how that feels.
Well, in Hawaii, it's okay because that's what I've done. But it's clear. You can see down below. You can tell that when the dolphins are there, they're going to protect you. I remember I was playing with them, the leaf game, where you throw a leaf down to see who can get it the first one to get it. And a dolphin came next to me and bumped me on the shoulder to pay attention, and there was a shark coming right at me. And it was like immediately this whole pod of dolphins just enveloped me, and the shark had to go down below. And I remember saying to myself, that poor guy, he has nobody to play with. He's just all by himself. And I don't know, I didn't feel afraid because they were there. And they just protected me.
I've heard of this before. Like I've heard of dolphins doing this. Like,
well, they do. I'll adhere to that.
Like, what kind of shark was it?
Big. It wasn't a hammerhead, and it wasn't the great whites. Don't come to Hawaii. It was as big as a dolphin. It was just very menacing. He had his teeth out.
Ooh.
That's all I remember.
It's all that counts, right? Like just that look. Because I've gone to the aquarium here in Baltimore. Their eyes, it's just like they're just.
Oh, I know.
Oh, like there's something totally different. Like they're not even. They look like they're just. I don't know. I don't want to.
They look at you as, are you part of the food chain?
Sure.
Can I take a nibble?
You look soft and warm and juicy. Let me take some of that.
But you would love to swim there. I mean, they do free diving. There's one place where we go where it's like 500 feet down, and people practice free diving there.
I want to go there. I want to go to, I don't know which place I want to go to though. Like, I don't know enough about it, right? Like I have some friends that live in Maui. I keep hearing about the Big Island. I don't know if that's where, like, I want to go see Pearl Harbor. I want to go. There's a lot of places that I want to go.
There are 7 chakras to the body, and there are 7 islands in Hawaii, and they all represent a different chakra. So if you have some issues with sexual love or just love, that's where you go to Maui. The Big Island has to do with the root chakra. So that's learning how to take care of yourself. That was my challenge. So that's why I always went to the Big Island. The mouthpiece is Oahu, and that's where you would want to see Pearl Harbor.
Wow.
And Molokai is the heart chakra. Lanai is the stomach. Kauai is third eye. It's really interesting.
I just feel like they're so in tune, or they're like so tapped into what we truly are. Like, I don't know.
You need to go.
I need to go. You're darn right. I need to go.
Make it a priority. If you
I'm
can,
trying to.
you must.
I know. I gotta do something. My wife, she's like, I can't do I gotta put something in her coffee and knock her out.
She doesn't want to travel.
It's the flight. It's the flight that
it's a 5-hour flight.
Yeah,
longer for you.
Longer for me. And that's the thing too, is the kids is I want to take the kids there and experience that. But the youngest, she's gonna be 3, and we're trying to figure out where if we want to take a trip next year, where we're going to go. And she's at that age where she's a free spirit. She's my little hippie, she loves to socialize, and she loves to talk to people, and she's very free spirited. And we took her to the zoo, and she's walking all over the place, walking up to people, talking to them.
Opening the cages so the animals will be free.
Belinda, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. This has been amazing.
Oh, thank you. It was fun. It went by too fast.
I know, right? How can people connect with you? How can they find your stuff?
Well, my website is Huna Healing, HUNA, which means secret.com. And there they have my phone number. I'm not taking people to swim with the dolphins, obviously, but I do phone healings on the phone.
And you have the book, right?
Find Your Friggin' Joy.
I can't imagine you saying friggin'. No, that's the thing. I don't see you saying friggin'.
I think my higher self got me to do that title. Find Your Friggin' Joy, because it just made me laugh. See, it makes you laugh, makes people laugh. And that's what the whole thing is about, is just don't take yourself so seriously. Find your friggin' joy and find it. It's right there.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Aloha.